Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Ireland. Welcome to Math Lesson 3.4, Part 2. This part is talking about multiplication and division relationships on the multiple tower. So we've talked about multiple towers before. We used the number 21 to make a huge multiple tower up to, I think we went all the way up to 50. So now we're going to be using that multiple tower and looking at the relationships between the numbers on there and how we can use that multiple tower to solve even bigger problems with the numbers we already understand. All right, so when we did our multiple tower before, we went all the way up to, I think, over 1,000 in our multiples. So we could solve these problems, 315 divided by 21 and 945 divided by 21. We could solve those pretty quickly because all I need to do is go to my multiple tower, which I put a handy little tab here on, and I can find those multiples and figure out what we multiplied to get there. So my first one was 315. Let's see, there's 315. And that was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so the answer to that problem would be 15, because I did 15 multiples of 21 to get to 315 on my multiple tower. How about 945? Let's see where that one is. Looks like it's way over here on the corner. 945. This one was 41, so I'm going to count it from there. 42, 43, 44, 45. Whoop, excuse me. Sorry. There we go. So 945 divided by 21 equals 45. So we did 45 multiples of 21 to get to 945. All right, so now I already know these two because they're already on our multiple tower. But what if I have a problem like this? (1,344) divided by 21, or I could write it like this. Okay, either way, let's look at our multiple tower, and I'm looking for the number 1,344. All right, so I started here, went all the way up to 420, up here to 840, and on my last row, I got up to 1,050, and that's where I stopped, okay? So it looks like we didn't get to 1,344 yet, so I can't just look at my table and know right away what my answer is going to be, because I don't know how many multiples it takes of 21 to get to this number, okay? But in order to solve this, there's a couple different ways I could do this. All right, one way is I could take the highest number we did get on our multiple, and I could just keep adding up until I get up to 1,344. Okay, let's go ahead and try that one. So it looks like my highest number was times 50, so 50 multiples, and it was 1,050. So I'm basically going to continue my multiple tower, and I'm going to start down here just in case I'm not sure how high I'm going to have to go. So I'll start down here with 1,050, and I'm going to label it over here so I know how many multiples that was. That was 50 multiples, okay? Now, I'm going to add 21 each time as I go up until I get all the way up to 1,344, okay? Then I'll be able to see how many multiples that is. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and add these up. Next would be 1,071, then 1,092, 1,113, 1,134, 1,155. Ooh, it looks like this might take me a while. 1,176, 1,197, 1,200, 200s now, 18, 1,239, 1,260, 1,281, 1,302, 1,323. Looks like I'm getting pretty close. I'm in the 300s. And 1,344. There we go. There's my number. Sorry, my tower's leaning a little bit. It's okay. So now what I'm going to do, if I knew this was 50 multiples here, I'm going to count up to see how many multiples I did to get up to 1,344. So this is 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Helpful to know where 60 is. And keep going. 61, 62, 63, 64. All right, so it looks like it took 64 multiples to get to 1,344. Okay, so that's one way I could solve that. However, there's another way I could do this. What I can do is I can use my multiples of 10 to try and get as close as I can to 1,344. Okay, so let's do times 60, because I know I'm pretending I didn't do this yet. If I'm just looking at this multiple, tower, I ended at times 50. I did 1,050. Well, that was not high enough yet. That's still pretty far away. But since I ended at 50, what if I just go to my next 10? So instead of 50, I'll try times 60 and see how close that gets me. All right, so if I do, so I'm gonna say this is, let's title it way. Way number 1. And way number 2. All right, so in this one, I'm gonna take 21 and I'm gonna try times 60 first and see what that gets me. All right, now, I don't know 21 times 60 off the top of my head. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break apart 21 into 20 and 1. Add those up, and then I'm gonna make sure I add on my 0 at the end because my place value shifts when I'm multiplying by a multiple of 10. So 20 times 60, well, I know 2 times 6, that's 12. And then I have a 0 from my 20, and I have a 0 from my 60. So I shifted 2 place values over. I got 1,200, okay? And then I have 60 times 1. That would be 60. And I can add those up. 1,260. All right, so 1,260. That's not quite to the number I want yet, but it is a lot closer. Now, I'm going to look back at what I did from my other tower. And on this one, I ended at 1,050. So when I went up by 10 multiples, I went up by about 200, little over 200. So if I go another 10 multiples, I'm going to pass this because I'll be into the 400s. That's too far. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from here, 1,260, and I know that was times 60 right here. And I'm just going to keep adding on 21s until I get to 1,344, because I think it's going to be closer to 60 than it is to 70. All right, so I have 1,260 here. I'm going to add 21. That would be 1,281. Not quite there yet, so keep going. Add 21 again. That's going to be 1,302. Getting closer. We're in the 300s. Add 21 again. That's going to be 1,323. And then add 21 again. And that's going to be 1,344. Okay, so I got to my number here. So I did 21 times 60. So I did 60 multiples. And then I did another multiple here, another multiple here, another multiple here, and another multiple here. That's 4 more multiples. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I did 60 multiples first. I multiplied them out, and then I added on 4 more multiples. So that would be 64 multiples total. Same thing I got on this one. I multiplied 64 multiples of 21 and got to 1,344 both times. So my answer there is going to be 64. There are 64 multiples of 21 in 1,344. All right, now I'm going to write out a new problem, and I would like you to try and solve it on your own. So after I write out the problem, please go ahead and pause the video, use a scratch piece of paper or a whiteboard, whatever you'd like, go ahead and try and solve this problem on your own, okay, using your multiples. All right, when you're done, press play, and I want you to see if you did any of the strategies that I'm going to talk about, because we're going to look at several different ways to solve this one specific problem. All right, so the problem is, oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump my camera there. Our problem is 1,275 divided by 21. Okay, I can also write it this way. All right, so go ahead and pause the video, work this out on your own on a scratch piece of paper or a whiteboard. Okay, then you can press play again and see what you got. All right, so let's see a couple different ways that we could solve this particular problem. All of these are going to use our multiples that we already know about 21, but we're going to use them and look at the relationships in between these numbers to get up to the actual number we want. All right, so my number is 1,275. If I look back at my multiple table, or tower, I'm sorry, I always call it a table for some reason. Okay, my tower only goes up to 1,050. I need it to go up to 1,200. So there's a couple different ways I can do that. We can do one of the ways we just talked about, or we can do some other ways using some of the multiples we already see on our multiple tower. Okay, so for example, let's see. I know that I want to get to 1,200 something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my multiples here, and I'm going to look for a number that has 120 something in it, and then I'm going to add a 0 to it. Because I know when I add a 0, it's going to shift the place value over, and all of a sudden that 120 something is going to turn into 1,200 something. That's probably going to be pretty close to the number that I want to get. Okay, so let me see if I have 120 something anywhere in my stuff. Oh, right there, 126, and that is times 6. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write out my thinking here. My first way, I'm going to actually divide these. This will be my first one. Number 1. I already know that 21 times 6 equals 126. So if I shift this place value of the 6 and I make it into a 60, I'm also going to shift the place value of my product. So if I make it 21 times 60, I have to shift the place value here also. And all of a sudden, my answer is 1,260, because all I did was I made this 6 into a 60. Okay, now here's the thing. I'm not at my final answer yet. My problem was 1,275. I'm at 1,260. So I am close, but I'm not quite there. However, if I add another 21 to this, look what happens. Now I'm too big. Now my number is 1,281. I only wanted 1,275. So what that tells me is I can't add another full multiple of 21. What I need to do is find whatever is left over. This is telling me right now, since I don't have another full multiple in this number, I'm going to have a remainder. I'm going to have something left over. So I don't want that. What I am going to do is I'm going to take my answer that I want, 1,275, and I'm going to subtract, actually I'm going to subtract the other way, sorry, subtract this way. I'm going to subtract what I got from multiplying by 60. So it'll be 1,260. I'm going to see what I get. 5, that's going to drop down. 7 minus 6 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, 15. I'm going to double check, make sure that I cannot fit a full multiple of 21 into 15. I can't, it's too small. So that means I am going to have a remainder. So I multiplied 60 times to get to this number, and then I'm going to have this many left over to get to my final answer. So my answer for number 1 is going to be 60 multiples with a remainder of 15. Okay? All right, let's see if we can do that another way. All right, another one I could do, I'm going to write the problem again here so I can see it nice and clear. 1,275 divided by 21. This time what I'm going to do, I'm going to look and see if I can kind of divide this big number in half. I wonder if I already have that done. So I'm going to ignore the 75. I'm just going to look at the 1,200. I know that 1,200, well, half of that would be 600 because half of 12 is 6. I'm just adding the zeros on. So half of 1,200 would be 600. So I'm going to look at what I have on my multiple chart that is already in the 600s. I wonder if any of that could help me. Let's see. Oops, sorry. Okay, looks like I've got a couple in the 600s. Well, if I did 651, if I doubled that, it would go over 1,200 because 600 plus, well, 600 doubled would be 1,200. 50 doubled would be another 100. And then the 1 doubled would be 2. So that would actually be 1,300. That's too big. 630 though, if I did that, 600 doubled would be 1,200, 30 doubled would be 60, and then a 0. So that would be 1,260, okay? That's pretty close. So I multiplied by 30 to get that 630. So again, I'm gonna write down what I already know, which is 21 times 30 equals 630. If I do it again, let's see what we get here. So I did 21, and then I did 30, and then I did 30 again. So 30 doubled is 60. And my answer doubled is going to be 600 plus 600, that's 1,200. 30 plus 30, that's 60. 1,260. Okay. So I got that. But again, same problem with what we had up here. If I add another multiple in here, I'm going to go too high. So I'm going to subtract what I originally got, or my original answer here, 1,275, and I'm going to subtract 1,260, and that is going to equal 15. I'm not going to do the math over again because it's the same math we did right here, but I still have that 15 left over. Okay, I did 60 multiples, and then I had 50 left over. So again, my answer here is going to be 60, remainder 15, okay? All right, so that would be way number 2 that we could use our multiple table to get our answer of 60 with a remainder of 15. All right, let's keep going. There's 2 more ways that we could use our multiples here. Now let's say maybe you are one of the people who likes to start with smaller multiples. I don't like to jump into big multiples sometimes because I just want to make sure I'm not going too high over. So sometimes I want to start with something a little smaller, something I'm more comfortable with. Well, one of those that I'm very comfortable with is a multiple of 10. I like multiplying by 10. It's simple. It's usually pretty easy. 21 times 10 is just 210. That's pretty basic, right? So what if I just start with that? I'll start with what I know, that 10 times 21 equals 210. Okay, great. However, I am nowhere close to getting to 1,275. I still have to add another 1,000 and change to get up to that number. So I'm going to need to start adding in some bigger multiples. So what about, I think I could probably double this and still not go over. So what if I tried 20 times 21? Let's see, 20 was 420. Okay, let's add these up and see where I'm at. So so far I've done 30 multiples of 21. And altogether I have 630. Okay, well, It looks like 30 times 21 equals 630. It looks like I could probably double that. I could do 30 again, and I'd be pretty darn close, just like what we did up here. So if I just do another 30 times 21 equals 630. If I add those up, let's see where I am. 30 plus 30 is 60. 20 times 21 multiples, 630 added up is 1260. All right, we got up there. I started with smaller multiples. I just kept getting bigger and adding up my totals, got up to 1,260. Again, it's not totally at my answer, so I have to make sure I'm paying attention to what number I was trying to get to and what number I got to, and then find the difference. So I did 60 multiples altogether, and I had 15 left over. So my answer for this one is going to be 60, remainder 15. You guys seeing a pattern in our answers? Each one of these ways is different, but every time I'm still ending up with 60, remainder 15. Okay, let's do one more. All right, so for this one, maybe you prefer looking at it like this. Maybe you're one of these people that prefers this kind of method, using the division house. Okay, that's fine. So maybe what we could do is start with a multiple you're familiar with, and then just keep subtracting whatever we have left over and adding more multiples to it. So let's start with a nice comfortable multiple. We did 20 a few times. Let's do 20 again. 20, multiple of 21 times 20 is 420. So let's do 420 here. And I did that by I did 20 times 21. And I know that equals 420. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract that multiple I just got, that answer, and I'm going to then just keep adding into what's left over, what other multiples I can put in. So 1,275 minus 420, that would be 855. Okay, still not done, but that's okay. Let's keep going. What other multiple do I know that would fit into 855? Well, it looks like I could probably go for a bigger number. Let's see, what other multiples do we have here? I could do, how about 30? 630, that will fit. So I'm going to do 630. And that I got that because I did 30 times 21. I'm making sure to write all my multiples over here to the side so I can keep track, because this is how many times I'm multiplying 21. Can't lose track of this. This is going to be my final answer. I have to keep track of how many multiples of 21 I am doing. Okay, I did 20 in this first one. I'm doing 30 in this next one. Now I'm going to subtract these and see how much I have left to still get 21 into. So 5, 2, and 2. Looks like I have 225 left. All right, let's look back. What would fit into 225? Over 200s, oh, I have 21 times 11, that's 231, a little too big. So I'm gonna have to go down to the tens, 210. So that would be 210, I did 10 times 21. And subtract that. I'm gonna have 5. Oh, that's it, just 15. All right, 21 will not go into 15 because 15 is smaller than 21. So I cannot do any more multiples of 21 into this number. This is gonna have to be my remainder. Okay, that's my remainder, but where's my answer now? My answer is in how many multiples of 21 I did to get this remainder. So over here on the side, I did 20 multiples first, then I did 30 multiples, and then I did 10 multiples. So I need to add up all my multiples, 20 and 30 and 10. When I add all of those up together, I get 60 multiples of 21. So that is going to be 60 with a remainder of 15. I have 15 left over. I cannot forget that remainder. So that would be our fourth way of doing that. All right. Well, that's several different ways to approach the same type of problem. Okay, keep those in mind as you are working on these problems later. Before we finish up, I just want to do a quick reminder for you guys. In your homework, you are going to be asked to build a multiple tower with a different number. Okay, this time you're going to be using 15 instead of 21. Okay, so just a reminder, when you're starting a multiple tower, start at the bottom. Give yourself plenty of space to work up. Okay, I like to start on the bottom left of my page because I naturally read from left to right. So when I go back and look at it, it's easier for me to keep track of where I was going. Okay, you can do it from right to left if that works for you, but for me, it keeps my thinking straight when I can read from left to right. So I'm going to start at the very bottom left, and my first multiple is going to be the number they're asking for times 1. So it's just the number itself. So I would start with 15. Okay, and I'm going to label that times 1. Then I'm going to go up. What's another 15 on top of that? That would be 30, and that's times 2. I'm going to keep going. Times 3, that would be 45, and so on and so on. So each time you're just adding one more multiple. You can add them, you can multiply it however you want to, but as long as you are just getting up there and adding one multiple each time, you're making a multiple tower. Okay, you're going to need that for your homework tonight, so don't forget. All right, and if you have any questions, please ask your teacher. Have a great day, friends.